Hi guys, today we want to talk about budgeting, but I know that budgeting has been overflogged and at a point, right, it gets tiring and overbearing because it's a bit difficult to always think about how to ration and how to put your money in proper places, what the money can do, what the money cannot do. I understand all of that. It's not easy to always worry about what your money would do and stuff like that. But today, I want to talk to us about when you start to plan your budget, the different types of budgets, right? So, firstly, there is your monthly budget, right? So, your monthly budget is you breaking down your monthly earnings and putting it into different pockets for the different purposes and the different goals that you have set for that month. Then there is a yearly budget. Now that's the picture of what you want to do or where you want to be financially by the end of the year. Let's take for instance, we say at the end of the year I want to buy a land. That is your end of the year goal. So you now decide to break it down. The land I want to buy is, let's say, 3 million naira, and let's take for instance I earn somewhere around 600,000. How much will I save every month so that I have, apart from my emergency savings at the end of the year, I have a certain percentage, right, that gives me around over a million naira to be able to buy that land. Because you want to buy land for a million naira doesn't mean you will save a million naira exactly. You will save a million naira and some fraction. So you say somewhere around 1.5 million. That will cover some of the foreseen circumstances and in cases like inflation, right? So when we factor in inflation, we have double-digit inflation now. I think I hear is over 28%. So you do that month on month. You see that at the price point that you enter, it might not be the same amount when you want to buy. So you plan to buy a piece of land, a plot of land by the end of the year. And so you begin to save from every month. That is a yearly budget. So end of the year, I plan to travel to at least 2 African countries, buy land, buy at least 6 pieces of gold. Then you now break that down. This is how much it will cost at the end of the year in total. This is how much I need to remove from my monthly salary every month to enable me to get these things. That's your yearly budget. Your monthly budget, on the other hand, is the budget, your working budget. So that's the amount, that's the minutest, yes, the minutest level of budgeting. So from your monthly budget, you already take out what is going to go into your yearly budget. So you take out what's going to go into your yearly budget from your monthly budget, making it easy for you to achieve your yearly goals. Now, I always emphasize the fact that it is very, very, very important for anyone who is looking to make financial independence to have a clear goal of what they want. For some people, it is just so that they can do the things that they like, while for some people, it's so that they can prepare a better future for their children. For some people, it is so that they can retire early. Right, so it depends on what your goals are. Your goals will tell you what your budget should be like. So some people find it difficult and say, oh, I make very little, it is very difficult to save. I have a story I will tell you. I think I had a problem some time ago and I found it very difficult to touch my emergency savings because it was an emergency, but it wasn't the kind of emergency I was looking forward to. So it's an emergency, but I had a different understanding of what an emergency was. So while I sat down and was pondering and saying, how do I solve this? How do I, go forward from here? It then occurred to me that this is actually an emergency. So your emergency fund can cover for it out. Budgeting, different kinds of budgets. So you have your monthly budget. Your monthly budget is the minutest level breakdown of how you spend money every month, and you don't have to wait until the end of the month before you begin to draw up your budget. Because what happens is that you are in a hurry and you miss some of the things that are very, very, very important to you. Because you are in a hurry, you just quickly want to write out what the budget should look like, and at the end of the month when you get the pay, you have probably begun to do some things. You then realize that some of these things are not exactly as important. And so apart from using my budgeting tool, I have a budgeting tool that I created for people in my community. If you comment budget under this video, I would send it to you for free. Apart from my budgeting tool, which I use, there is also a place of writing down everything that comes up, every need that comes up that I cannot fulfill immediately. If I have a need and I cannot fulfill it immediately, I write it down. So when at the point I'm collecting this month's salary, right, I already know what next month's salary is going to look like. Because first and foremost, I have a budget of recurring expenses. That recurring expenses is seated permanently on my budget monthly, and it is reviewed every month. So let's take, for instance, there was a time I used to spend around 6,000 naira for my monthly purchases at home. Then it got to a point I was spending 15,000 naira. It got to a point I was spending 30,000 naira. And at the last time I was telling somebody, I said, boy, I can't even imagine how much I'm spending. Because I did a review recently. It's not just to have a budget, it's to have a budget. I also have an expense tracker for your monthly purchases. So you buy stuff every month, you record them. At the end of the month, you get a picture of where you're spending your money the most, right? And then you can adjust and make better decisions. So, and I reviewed my expenses, and boy, was I blown away. Like, I am spending my budget for recurring expenses in my house had climbed like times 2 at the last time I went to the market. So if I don't track it, you wouldn't know. All right? So there are some things that are just recurring expenses: your data cost, your cost of your monthly expense, your beverage, cost of transportation. They are recurring. And don't take what I use, right, as the benchmark, because every person has a unique financial responsibility that dictates what their recurring expenses will look like. Okay, so there is the space for the recurring expenses, and then there is a space to fix some of those things that you highlighted during the month that you needed. Take, for instance, you are a lady. I know there are some people who plan and buy, let's say, 3 months worth of sanitary towels and stuff like that. But there are also some people who, even after having 3 months, maybe you gifted somebody one, you then have to note it down that you have to buy an extra. You take, for instance, you probably you saw a hair and you want to make you want to get something like that. Anything is possible. Or you are in church and then they say, oh, we are contributing so and so amount. You can contribute it this month because of course it was not in your budget, right? So you have to write it down so that when you are planning for next month and you're drawing up your budget for the following months, those expenses can come up. So just to recap, we have short-term budgets, which are things that typically your monthly budget is the minutest level of budgeting because it breaks down your money into tiniest bits, right? So then you have long-term budgeting, which can typically be your yearly budgets, right, or budgets for another 5 to 10 years. Yes, there are people who plan their resources like that. I know people who plan for 5 years, so they want to buy a particular investment, they want to buy a particular asset, but they cannot afford it right now. So what do? They break it down. They break it into pieces, and then they include it in their monthly budgets. So that way it is taken care of, and anytime is right to make those purchases, they can then make them. Okay, so I hope that this helps you in case you are struggling with budgeting. Remember, I have a budgeting tool. Click the link in my bio and you would see the resources there. I also have an expense tracker that can also help you with to visualize the areas where you are spent the most every month. So I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.